Hello, this is a professional development on student discipline. Um, my name's Brianna and my partner is Ireland. She'll be presenting the last four slides. So let's just get into this. If it'll let me. Okay. So first I have a timeline. So the thing with the first idea, it was created without the mention of discipline for students with disabilities. So, what happened was many courts often faced under this version of IDEA was the task of figuring out the problem administrators were facing when disciplining students with special needs. So they would have a lot more problems than they should, and it was just causing problems for everybody. The second one is Honig v. Doe, was a court case that happened after the initial idea. Basically, Honig v. Doe was a dispute between two emotionally disturbed students, both of which were on an IEP. At the end of the dispute they had, they were both suspended, but the administration wanted them to be expelled. But under their IEPs, they couldn't necessarily at that time. The Supreme Court ruled after that case that no student can be expelled if their behavior has anything to do with their disability. The ruling fixed a lot of problems, but definitely did not fix all of them. Because obviously nothing's perfect and everything still has problems, and you can't fix all the problems with just one court case. They also permitted suspension of up to 10 days as a cool-off period. I thought this was interesting because I really haven't heard of it in that way before, I guess. It's a cool-off period so parents and administrators can come up with a better course of action within those days rather than all in one day when their emotions are heightened. So they'll have time to think about it and come up with their best course of action. The fourth point I have is the between 1997 and 2004 amendments to the IDEA. The Congress added disciplinary provisions for the first time to the IDEA in 1997, and then soon after refining them in 2004. The result of these two amendments is that IDEA now includes the comprehensive guidelines dealing with disciplining students with disabilities. So basically what that means is that there's certain rules they have to follow under the IEP in order to discipline them, which will be covered shortly in this presentation. The caution to school officials, since there was issues in the past, the IDEA and its regulations include a caution to school officials, now obligating them to devise policies and procedures to prevent the over-identification of students by race and ethnicity. Basically what that means is that they're not going to be over their IEP and just over identifying these kids while on their IEP. So that Honig v. Doe case, it was at the San Francisco Unified School District. They wanted to expel the students indefinitely for violent and disruptive conduct related to their disabilities. The respondent assaulted another student at the Louise Lombard School for it was for disruptive children or something. The said student choked out their peer hard enough to leave enough force that their marks were left after the attack. So basically what that means is they choked them out, they had marks on their neck, and they were seen thereafter. And then it did say in the case that he ended up kicking a window out of the school as well. It was then recommended that he be expelled, which under any normal circumstances would be very appropriate, but since he was on an IEP and all of that is probably because of his emotional disturbance, there was problems with that. The court affirmed that a suspension in excess of 10 school days does not constitute a change in placement. That was the court proceedings, the verdict. That was what happened after that whole court case. Basically the whole court case, the problem was that they were wondering if being suspended would constitute that change in placement. So that's what they didn't want. So some different approaches, going off of that case, with discipline and the new version of IDEA. So basically, with timeout and physical restraint, there is, like, immediately take whatever measures are necessary to restore order, maintain discipline, and make sure all of your students and staff are safe. Excuse me. Just because the safety is the most important thing, and they need to make sure that nobody else around them gets hurt when there's different things going on because of behaviors. Expulsions. The IDEA permits educators to expel students with disabilities as long as the behaviors given rise to violations of school rules were not manifestations of their disabilities. So basically it's saying that under IDEA they can't be expelled for their behaviors if it aligns with their disability. Suspensions, they can't be over 10 days, otherwise it constitutes a change in placement. So basically that's what that is. Placements in alternative settings is basically just so they're in a different place and they are still getting their accommodations and modifications and all of their things listed in their IEP. And then the FBAs and BIPs, they make sure they conduct functional behavior assessments and develop behavior intervention plans after the fact of the behavior happening is just very important. You make sure you get all that done, and if there's already some in place, make sure you read over those. And Ireland's going to be doing the last 4 slides, so that should be the rest of the video.